I, 20M, need to get this off my chest because it's been eating me up inside for months now. This is a complicated situation, and I want to provide all the context necessary for people to understand where I'm coming from. My girlfriend Sarah, 21F, and I met 9 months ago at a party hosted by my roommate Alex. Alex had invited a bunch of people from different colleges in our area, and Sarah came with her group of friends. I wasn't even planning to attend the party that night. I had a major assignment due the next week and wanted to work on it, but Alex literally dragged me out of my room, saying I needed to socialize more. Looking back, I don't know if I should thank him or blame him for what followed. Sarah and I clicked instantly. She was standing by the drinks table, making fun of the cheap beer Alex had bought, and I jumped in with a joke about college budgets. We ended up talking for hours that night, discovering we had so much in common. We both loved indie music, played the same video games, and enjoyed hiking. She was studying psychology at the college across town while I was doing computer science at mine. We exchanged numbers that night and started texting regularly. Within 2 weeks, we were officially dating. Everything was perfect in the beginning. We made time for each other despite our busy schedules, planned weekend activities together, and even started meeting each other's friends. My friends loved her, especially how she could keep up with our gaming sessions and actually beat most of us. 3 months into our relationship, things started to change. Sarah began talking about how she had been in an open relationship before and how liberating it felt. She brought up the idea of us trying it too. I was completely against it at first. The thought of her being with someone else made me sick to my stomach. But she was persistent. She would bring it up during our dates, send me articles about successful open relationships, and talk about how it would make our bond stronger because it would be based on trust rather than possession. After weeks of discussion and her constant reassurance, I reluctantly agreed, but with clear boundaries. I told her nothing beyond kissing was acceptable, and we had to be completely honest with each other about any encounters. She agreed enthusiastically, promising that this would make our relationship even better. About 3 weeks after this agreement, everything fell apart. I remember that night clearly. I was studying for an exam when Sarah showed up at my apartment unannounced, crying. Her makeup was smeared, and she looked devastated. She confessed that she had crossed the boundaries we set. According to her initial story, she met a guy at a bar while out with her friends, and things went further than they should have. She swore she stopped it before it went too far and that she regretted it immediately. She begged me to forgive her and suggested we close the relationship, saying she realized it wasn't what she really wanted. I was hurt, but she seemed so genuinely remorseful that I decided to give her another chance. We spent hours talking that night, and she promised nothing like this would ever happen again. She even offered to let me check her phone anytime I wanted, though I never took her up on that offer because I wanted to rebuild trust, not become controlling. 4 months passed, and things seemed to be getting better. We were closer than ever, and I was starting to trust her again. Then came the second blow. She asked to talk one evening after dinner at my place. She said she needed to tell me the complete truth about that night 4 months ago. The guy wasn't some random person from a bar, it was her ex-boyfriend Mark, who she had been secretly talking to behind my back. She admitted that things had gone much further than just kissing, though she maintained that she eventually pushed him away and left. This revelation destroyed me. Not only had she crossed our physical boundaries, but she had also lied about who it was with and had been in contact with her ex without telling me. The fact that she hid this truth for 4 months made it even worse. But by then, we had built such a strong relationship in other ways that I decided to try and move past it. She showed genuine remorse and took full responsibility for her actions. Throughout our relationship, Sarah has always had male friends, which I was initially fine with. One of them, Tom, has been nothing but respectful. He's actually become a good friend of mine too, and we often play video games together. Another friend, Jake, developed feelings for her and confessed them, but Sarah handled it well by cutting contact with him to respect our relationship. But recently, things got complicated again when her old best friend Ryan came back into the picture. He's a Marine who just returned from deployment, and their history is far from simple. They were best friends throughout high school and, as Sarah eventually told me, had fooled around multiple times before deciding they were better as friends. This already made me uncomfortable, but I tried to be understanding. When Ryan first reached out, Sarah was completely transparent about it. She showed me their initial messages, which seemed innocent enough, just catching up on life and sharing stories about what they'd been up to. But as they continued talking, I noticed something off about their interactions. Ryan would often make references to their past together or comment about their special connection. Sarah would dismiss these as jokes between old friends, but they made me increasingly uneasy. Yesterday, Ryan came home on leave and wanted to meet Sarah. Given their history and my previous experience with her ex, I expressed my discomfort with them meeting alone. Sarah suggested they hang out with another friend present as a compromise. Before he picked her up, Ryan sent her a text saying I was controlling her and that the Sarah he knew would never let a guy dictate her friendships. Sarah claimed she defended me and told Ryan that if he ever disrespected me again, she would cut ties with him. But in the same breath, she begged me not to make her end their friendship. She kept emphasizing how important Ryan has been in her life, how he's always been there for her through tough times, and how I need to trust her. She promised nothing would happen between them and that Ryan just needed time to adjust to her being in a serious relationship. I feel completely lost. The logical part of me wants to trust Sarah and believe she's learned from her previous mistake. She's been open about her communications with Ryan and included me in their plans. But I can't shake this feeling in my gut that history might repeat itself. The fact that she's so adamant about maintaining a friendship with someone who openly disrespected our relationship brings back all my trust issues from her previous betrayal. I don't want to be controlling, but given our history, I feel my concerns are valid. Every time I try to discuss this with her, she gets defensive and accuses me of not trusting her. And honestly, she's right, I don't trust her completely. How can I, after everything that's happened? I need advice on how to handle this situation without coming across as the controlling boyfriend while also protecting myself from potentially getting hurt again. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since my original post, and everything has gotten much worse than I initially feared. I honestly wish I had followed my gut instinct from the beginning. A lot has happened, and I need to get it all out. Sarah and Ryan have been hanging out more frequently over the past 2 weeks, always with other friends present as per our agreement. At first, it seemed like things were working out. They would meet in group settings, usually at local cafes or at our mutual friends' places. I even joined them a couple of times, though the tension was obvious. Ryan would barely acknowledge my presence, and Sarah seemed different when he was around, more animated, laughing louder at his jokes, and constantly referencing their shared past. Last weekend, everything changed when Emma, one of Sarah's closest friends from college, reached out to me privately. Emma and I never really talked much before this, so I was surprised when she asked to meet me for coffee. She said she had been struggling with whether to tell me what she had observed, but her conscience wouldn't let her keep quiet anymore. According to Emma, she had noticed some concerning behavior during their group hangouts. She told me that whenever she would step away to use the bathroom or take a call, she would return to find Sarah and Ryan sitting notably closer together, or they would quickly move apart as she approached. At first, she thought she was reading too much into it, but it happened consistently enough that she couldn't ignore it anymore. Emma also overheard several conversations between them that made her uncomfortable. In one instance, she heard Ryan telling Sarah that she deserved someone who could give her more freedom and understand her need for close male friendships. He apparently told Sarah that I was trying to change who she was, and that she used to be more fun and spontaneous before meeting me. The worst part was that Sarah didn't defend me, she just listened and nodded. But what really pushed Emma to come forward was the messages she had seen. Another friend in their group, Lisa, had forwarded her screenshots of conversations between Sarah and Ryan. Lisa had accidentally seen these messages when Sarah asked her to check something on her phone. The messages made my stomach turn. In these conversations, Ryan and Sarah were discussing specific memories from their past intimate encounters. Ryan wrote about how he still thought about certain moments they shared, and how being around her again brought back all those feelings. He suggested that since he was in town, they could recreate some of those memories for old time's sake. Sarah's responses weren't explicitly encouraging, but she wasn't shutting him down either. She would reply with things like those were crazy times or we were different people then, not exactly the firm boundaries I would expect from someone in a committed relationship. After seeing these screenshots, I couldn't eat or sleep properly for days. I finally gathered the courage to confront Sarah about everything Emma had told me. When I brought it up, Sarah immediately broke down crying. She admitted that Ryan had been flirting with her, but claimed she was just being polite and didn't want to ruin their friendship by creating drama. She said she valued their years of friendship too much to cut him off completely over what she called harmless flirting. She swore nothing physical had happened between them and that she had no intentions of cheating on me. To prove her point, she offered to let me read all their messages and promised to establish stricter boundaries with Ryan. She even called him right there in front of me to tell him he needed to respect our relationship more. I thought this might be a turning point, but the next day, things got even more complicated. When Sarah handed me her phone to read their conversations, I noticed that several chat threads with Ryan had been deleted. The conversation history only went back about a week, even though I knew they had been texting for much longer. When I questioned her about the deleted messages, she got defensive. She claimed she regularly deleted old conversations to free up phone storage, and that she had no idea these specific messages would become important. But her explanation didn't add up. None of her other chat histories with friends were deleted, only Ryan's older messages. Something about her reaction made me suspicious, so I decided to do some digging. I hate that I felt compelled to do this, but I reached out to some mutual friends who frequently hang out at the campus coffee shop. That's when I discovered that Sarah and Ryan had been meeting there between classes, just the two of them, without telling me. These weren't group hangouts, they were secret one-on-one meetings that she had deliberately hidden from me. When I confronted her about these secret meetings, her entire demeanor changed. She got extremely defensive and accused me of spying on her. She said I was being paranoid and controlling, and that she didn't tell me about these meetings precisely because she knew I would overreact like this. She turned it around on me, saying that my trust issues were pushing her away and making her feel like she couldn't be honest with me. The most frustrating part is that she somehow managed to make me feel guilty for discovering her lies. She said that by checking up on her through friends, I had violated her privacy and broken her trust. She even suggested that my behavior was forcing her to be secretive because she felt she couldn't be honest with me without facing accusations. I'm at my wit's end here. Every time I think we're making progress, something new comes up that makes me question everything. The girl I fell in love with at that party 9 months ago feels like a completely different person now. I keep trying to trust her, but she keeps giving me reasons not to. The worst part is that I'm starting to question my own judgment. Am I really being paranoid and controlling, or are my suspicions justified? Either way, I feel like I'm losing my mind over this situation. I need advice more than ever now. How do I handle this? Is there any coming back from this level of broken trust? Should I even try? Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and I hate that I was right all along. The truth came out in the worst possible way, and everything has completely fallen apart. I need to share what happened because it still feels surreal. Last week, I received an anonymous email. The subject line just said you need to see this and there was a video file attached. At first, I was hesitant to open it, thinking it might be spam, but the email mentioned Sarah and Ryan by name. The attachment turned out to be security camera footage from Starbucks, the same one near Sarah's campus where I had discovered they were meeting secretly. The footage was from 3 days ago, the same day Sarah told me she was studying at the library with her study group for an upcoming psychology exam. In the video, Sarah and Ryan were sitting in a corner booth, clearly visible despite the angle. They weren't just talking. They were holding hands across the table, and at several points, Ryan would reach over to brush hair from her face or touch her arm. Then came the moment that made me physically sick. They kissed. Not a friendly peck, but a real kiss that lasted several seconds. They looked completely comfortable, like they had done this many times before. I sat on this information for a day, watching the video over and over, trying to think of any possible explanation that could make this okay. Maybe it was old footage? But no, the timestamp was clear. Maybe it was someone else who looked like Sarah? But I could clearly recognize the sweater she was wearing. I had given it to her for her birthday last month. Before I could decide how to confront her, I got another bombshell. Sarah's roommate, Kelly, called me. Kelly and I had always gotten along well, and she sounded really uncomfortable on the phone. She said she couldn't keep quiet anymore because she felt guilty for knowing what was going on and not telling me sooner. According to Kelly, Sarah had been planning to break up with me for weeks. She had been confiding in Kelly about her feelings for Ryan, telling her how being around him again had made her realize she never really got over him. Apparently, their history was even more complicated than Sarah had let on. They hadn't just fooled around in high school, they had been seriously involved for over a year but broke it off when Ryan joined the Marines because neither wanted to do long distance. Kelly revealed that Sarah and Ryan had been sleeping together for the past 3 weeks. They would use Kelly's car to avoid being seen together, and Ryan would come over to their apartment when they knew I had late classes. The only reason Sarah hadn't broken up with me yet was that she was worried about her image. She didn't want our mutual friends to judge her for immediately getting together with Ryan after ending things with me. Armed with both the video and Kelly's information, I finally confronted Sarah. I went to her apartment unannounced, which I never do, and showed her the video without saying a word. To my surprise, she didn't even try to deny it. She just sat there, tears rolling down her face, but they weren't tears of remorse, they were tears of relief that she finally didn't have to pretend anymore. She told me she had been struggling with her feelings for Ryan since he came back. Seeing him again had brought back all their old chemistry, and she realized what they had was special. She apologized for hurting me but said she couldn't help how she felt. When I brought up her previous cheating with her ex Mark, she had the audacity to say that was different because she hadn't had real feelings for him, it was just physical. With Ryan, she said, it was real love. The part that hurt the most was when she tried to blame me for everything. She said my trust issues after the incident with Mark had pushed her away. She claimed that my suspicion of her friendship with Ryan had actually pushed them closer together because he was the only one who understood her need for freedom. She even suggested that if I hadn't been so controlling about their friendship, maybe things would have turned out differently. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was actually trying to justify her actions and make me the bad guy. When I mentioned Kelly telling me about them using her car and sneaking around, Sarah's face changed. She got angry and said Kelly had no right to tell me their private business. She didn't even deny it, she was just mad at getting caught. I stood up and walked out without another word. There was nothing left to say. Everything I had suspected, everything I had feared, was true. All those times she made me feel guilty for not trusting her, all those times she called me controlling and paranoid, she was just manipulating me to hide her betrayal. I spent the night at Alex's place, trying to process everything. The worst part is that deep down, I knew this would happen. Every instinct I had was screaming at me that something was wrong, but I let her gaslight me into thinking I was the problem. Update 3, it's been 3 months since everything blew up, and I wanted to give one final update because the situation took some interesting turns that I think might help others who find themselves in similar situations. Sarah and Ryan made their relationship official just 2 weeks after our breakup. They didn't even try to be subtle about it. Their social media accounts exploded with pictures of them together, with captions about how sometimes you have to go through other relationships to find your way back to your soulmate. Ryan even posted a long paragraph about how he had loved Sarah since high school and how fate brought them back together. The worst part was seeing our mutual friends liking and commenting on these posts with heart emojis and congratulations. But karma has a way of working things out. About a month after they went public, Kelly reached out to me again. Apparently, Sarah and Ryan's perfect reunion wasn't so perfect after all. Ryan got orders to deploy again, this time for a year-long tour. Sarah tried to convince him to leave the Marines or request a different posting, but he refused. According to Kelly, this led to massive fights between them because Sarah felt like she was being abandoned after she had given up everything, meaning me, to be with him. The silver lining in all of this is that most of our mutual friends have sided with me. They've seen how Sarah's behavior pattern repeats itself. Emma told me that she talked to Sarah's ex before me, and apparently, Sarah had done something similar to him. She got back with an old flame while they were still together. It seems like this is just who she is, someone who's always looking for something better while keeping her current relationship as a safety net. Emma, Tom, and several others have cut ties with her completely. Even Kelly moved out of their apartment, saying she couldn't live with someone she couldn't trust. Sarah tried to paint Kelly as the bad guy for telling me the truth, but our friend group saw through that pretty quickly. The whole situation affected my academics initially, my grades dropped, and I almost failed 2 classes. But I managed to pull myself together for the final exams. I've thrown myself into my studies and started hitting the gym regularly. The gym has been particularly therapeutic. There's something about lifting weights that helps process emotional pain. I've blocked Sarah on everything and asked our mutual friends not to update me about her life anymore. Some still slip up and mention her occasionally, but I shut down those conversations quickly. I'm not interested in hearing about her inevitable relationship drama with Ryan or whatever else she's doing. The trust issues are still there, and I know they'll probably affect my future relationships. But I'm working through them. I've learned to trust my instincts more. All the red flags were there from the beginning. I just chose to ignore them because I was afraid of appearing controlling or insecure. Last week, Sarah tried to reach out through a fake Instagram account. She sent a long message about how she regrets how things ended and that she misses our friendship. I didn't respond. She made her choices, and now she has to live with them. I refuse to be anyone's backup plan. To those who might be in a similar situation, don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking your concerns aren't valid. If someone truly respects you and your relationship, they won't put you in positions that make you uncomfortable. They won't hide things or make excuses. They won't make you feel crazy for having legitimate concerns. I'm focusing on graduating next year and already have a promising internship lined up for the summer. Life goes on, and honestly, I'm better off without someone who could so easily disregard my feelings and trust. Sometimes losing someone who doesn't respect you is the best thing that can happen to you. This will be my last update. Thanks to everyone who offered advice and support through this mess. Time to close this chapter completely and move forward.